In this video, we are going to look at entoptic phenomenon. What is entoptic phenomenon? Scientifically, a phenomenon is any event that is observable, and means within. And optic means the eye. Therefore, entoptic phenomenon is an event, occurs within the eye and is observable. Which totally makes sense. But what exactly is entoptic phenomenon and what actually happens within the eye? To start off, let's try to experience one. Stare hard on this screen for about 30 seconds, and see if you see any small dots squiggling in random directions. Does it look like this? Obviously there isn't anything on the previous screen. But why do we see these squiggly movements of dots? This is what happens. It all happens on the retina. The thinnest blood vessels in a human body can be found lying over the inner surface of the retina. Human blood is made up of 40% red blood cells. As the name suggests, red blood cells are red. About 1 to 5% consists of white blood cells and platelets. White blood cells are basically transparent. All these cells are floating in a yellowish liquid body, known as the plasma, which makes up 55% of the total blood volume. Let us now focus more on the red and white blood cells. As we know, the blood vessels on the retina are so thin that at some parts, the blood cells line up within the vessels. Red blood cells, being red in color, absorbs all other lights but reflect red light. Therefore, when our eyes are seeing the blue screen previously, blue light enters the eye and is blocked by the red blood cells from entering the retina. However, white blood cells, being transparent, allow the blue light to pass through. Blue light enters the retina and excites the photoreceptor at that spot. This local excitation of photoreceptors occurs all over the retina where the white blood cells are. Due to the movement of the blood flow within the retina, squiggly movements are observed. This entoptic phenomenon is called the blue field entoptic phenomenon. Some entoptic phenomena are less complicated. For example, cells floating within the vitreous are often observed as floaters, simply because they cast shadows on the retina. Another simple entoptic phenomenon that can be observed easily is called the Purkinje. It is actually the blood vessel silhouette seen during internal eye examinations. When light enters the eye, the blood vessels cast shadows on the retina underneath. Heidinger's brush is another entoptic phenomenon which is not easily observed. It is caused by the preferential absorption of blue light by the xanthophyll pigment on our fovea. Xanthophyll pigment is yellowish color in nature, similar to the color of egg yolk. In this case, the yolk appears yellow because it absorbs all light, but reflects only yellow light, and thus we see the yolk as yellow. When polarized white light enters the eye, the observer will see a subtle yellow structure at the center of the field. And in the case when polarized blue light enters the eye, the observer will see a subtle gray shadow at the center of the field. As Heidinger's brush occurs only within the central field which is projected by the fovea. It can be manipulated during our examinations to detect and treat eccentric fixation, which occurs in patients with strabismus. Eccentric fixation is an adaptation to strabismus by viewing an image using a spot on the retina other than fovea. The next phenomenon we will be looking at is the phosphine. After staring at this image for a while, you might feel that the patterns are moving. In fact, phosphine presents as the movement of multiple light sensations, in the same manner without any presence of light. One way to experience phosphine is by rubbing your eyes, or by applying pressure with your eyes closed for a while. So how will applying pressure to the eye causes us to see phosphine? Applying pressure on our eye is equivalent to adding pressure on the retinal ganglion cells, which in turn stimulates the ganglion cells to think that light is perceived. Patients will observe phosphine in conditions that affects the retina, like posterior vitreous detachment and retinal detachment, which causes mechanical stimulation to the retinal ganglion cells, therefore, resulting in observation of flashes of light in the absence of light. In this video, some examples of entoptic phenomenon are shown. They are namely the blue field entoptic phenomenon, shadows caused by media opacities, blood vessel silhouettes also known as Purkinje's-tree, Heidinger's brush, and phosphine. Always remember, a phenomenon is any event that is observable, and means within, and optic means the eye. Finally, entoptic phenomenon is an event, occurs within the eye and is observable, which really should make sense by now.